Women get to a point in life where we just don't care. We've been through the BS. We're burnout and done playing by the rules. Midlife is our time. We're fearless, confident, and ready to blow it all up for more. We are female and dangerous. I'm Jameson, your host and certified coach at theboldlife.coach. Let's do the work. Are you contemplating divorce or in the thick of it? Maybe you are in the thick of a breakup. Turns out that you aren't the only one. Women are tired of the expectation that they take on the role of breadwinner, primary parent, primary housekeeper, and primary emotional laborer in relationships. We're juggling the brunt of the physical and emotional work in families, leaving work early to take kids to appointments and after-school activities, and mental and emotional strain aside, we just figure it out and make it work. But the exhaustion and resentment becomes overwhelming, intolerable. Some women feel like it would be easier to do it all alone. Women are reclaiming their time, their space, and their purpose. Whether you're stepping out of a marriage that no longer serves you or rediscovering who you are outside of a partnership, divorce can be the catalyst for building a life that's authentically yours. Society tells us that divorce is a personal failure, for women especially. A single mom is supposedly a failed wife, but we don't hear much about that absent father, do we? Women are tired of carrying the weight and the blame when things go wrong. We're told to look back wistfully at how our mothers and their mothers stayed home with the kids and were the best mothers around, in the kitchen where they belong. But of course, we don't hear as much about how 50s housewives took uppers and other pills to get through the day. The fact that women couldn't get their own bank accounts or credit cards until the late 70s. Women have always experienced dissatisfaction in marriage and in relationships. It's just that they didn't have as much of a way to get out then. This trope of the woman as the domestic default or family martyr still persists. But the difference is that despite how we may have internalized, fear of leaving, fear of independence, doing things on our own, fear of being single above a certain age, or fear of single parenting, women do have choices. We get to design our own life paths, we can create our own solutions, and we don't have to put up with pulling a double load, toxicity, or abuse. Today, many women are just saying, no thanks. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a ton of emotionally healthy, great husbands and fathers out there. I'm not saying that lots of families don't do a decent job of dividing the domestic, physical, and emotional labor. Those families, hey, they get gold stars, but they aren't really the audience for today. This is for the women who've had enough and are going through a transition to end toxic cycles in relationships that are well beyond savable. But how do you get from relationship end to a new beginning? Could this breakup be a problem-tunity? That's an opportunity that's disguised as a problem. You had problems, seemingly big ones, in your relationship. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here now, would you? But what if right where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be? Looking your future self straight in the eye. But how do you become her? It starts with a decision. Will it be you for the future? Or will it be back to past you? Circling around in another toxic spiral, waiting for just one more chance for things to get right. The final smack that's needed to break the camel's back. The decision to leave is often the hardest part. We want to figure it out and then fast forward to the next chapter. And I get why. The decision is the hard part. It forces you to admit to others, but more importantly, to admit to yourself that you must now confront change. You have to be the change, do the changes if you want to get to the next version of you. You want to skip ahead to the good part. Happy, single, prosperous you, no drama. Many people going through a divorce try to skip right through the hard part, the hard feelings, the trauma and drama, to get right to the new path. In my divorce, I didn't spend months in talks about it. Sure, I spent a lot of time in internal turmoil, but that's what a lot of women do. By the time they make the decision to take action to leave a relationship, they're already more than halfway out the door. The decision almost feels like the end of a long internal struggle. But it's a mistake to think that you can just hit the pavement running into immediate healing and new happiness. I immediately went into single gal in the city mode, busy with work and friends. Sure, my emotional state was messy, but again, transition happens in a spiral, not a straight line to success, reinvention, or even healing. Even though I thought divorce was the best path, in retrospect, I would have taken more time to heal, feel all of the feelings, and I'm not sure I did that. I didn't slow down long enough to sit in the quiet and check in with myself. The big feelings were still there and they came out. They showed themselves in other areas of my life: relationships, drama, and poor choices. To properly end a relationship and a period of your life, who you were, you have to allow yourself to feel anger, grief, confusion, fear, loss. This means giving yourself in your busy life a bit of a pause. Chances are, behind those big feelings are some very messy thoughts. You're angry because of the thought that what happened was unfair, or your ex partner did you wrong. You're grieving because of the thought that you'll never find somebody else. You'll never fall in love again. You're fearful because of the thought that you don't know if you can financially provide for yourself. Just sitting with those feelings is a key step to working past them, starting to take new actions that then support healing and your success. It's very difficult to begin again if you're holding on to negative feelings like anger or grief, especially when you're expending a huge portion of your time thinking unproductive thoughts that reinforce those feelings. So many women get to a point where they seem to almost get off on ruminating in their anger or grief. They constantly talk about the ex partner, rehash how awful it was, how awful his actions and his character are. It's drama that stokes their fire. They continue to focus on that feeling, which then feeds a never ending cycle of stuckness. They're stewing in anger and unproductivity, not really moving forward at all. It's almost like, even though they left the relationship, they can't seem to leave the relationship. It's refusal to deal with their feelings in a productive way. Maybe they never actually let themselves just feel those things. Instead, they started running their mouths. Blaming. It's refusal to take accountability for thoughts. It's refusal to move on. And if we're not careful, we can stay stuck in refusal to change. We all know those people who are always talking about the past. It's like they peaked in high school, right? Stuck in the past. All of a sudden, we can so easily recall what was great about the relationship, the good times, the could have beens, just if something had been different. The living in the past is a mistake, though. If that relationship were meant to be, it would be, right? You'll never be able to change what happened. The things he said that hurt you, the behaviors you put up with. But in order to move forward, you have to figure out how to change your perspective, to begin to detach from the person you were in that relationship, taking accountability for your own part in what went wrong. Perhaps you were always the wonderful partner. Well, sure, honey, but let's pretend that that was the case. Even then, you stayed, you put up with behavior or actions that didn't serve you, that you didn't like. Are you angry because of that? Or are you angry because you didn't realize sooner that you actually deserve better? Are you angry because of the thought that you let the person trample on your boundaries? A healthy part of leaving any relationship requires you to not just get over your thoughts about what the other person did. You have to be willing to look at your own actions or inactions to understand where they came from. What thoughts about yourself and the situation led you to stay? Were your thoughts full of self-doubt and lack of confidence? Did you think that there was no way out? Is it worth Taking a look at the self-limiting beliefs that may have led you to put up with that bad relationship for way too long. If we don't take the time to look at the reasons for our actions, the feelings and the thoughts that formed them, we're likely to repeat the same negative patterns and behaviors in future relationships. Only once you've wrestled with these hard feelings, can accept the things that you could not control and can't control, and can truly look at your own part, will you be able to truly begin again. Going through divorce is letting part of your old self die. You're releasing a big part of your identity in that relationship to form a new one with yourself, hopefully. But what if you can't get away from the ex? What got you here is not what is going to get you to future you. It's very hard to move forward in the way I've just described when the old relationship habits don't end. For me, cutting off contact with the other person has been the best way for me to get the quiet that I needed to heal. But sometimes women can't cut off communication with their exes. They have children together or co-own a property or business or something like that. When you have children and you have to continue to co-parent, it can get particularly nasty if one ex-partner is unwilling to co-parent peacefully. While you may not be able to control the words and behaviors of the ex-partner, it's a true test of how much you are changing. It's a time to establish and stick to new boundaries, to write down what your standards for communication are, to convey the consequences of how you will react if the ex-partner does not follow your standards for communication. Having boundaries doesn't mean controlling what others do. It means that you have standards for who and what you will allow in your life. And when those are not met, you act on it. When your ex-partner says something you think is disrespectful, you might say, "If you say something like that again, I am going to hang up the phone." Then, when he says something rude again like that, instead of yelling or counterattacking, you do what you said you would do, which is hang up the phone. By doing so, you're demonstrating conviction to your boundaries. You can't control someone else, but you absolutely can control yourself and your actions. This change alone can be empowering because not only are you standing up for yourself, you're probably going to feel a lot better about how you approached the situation. It doesn't feel good to allow yourself to be dragged down to a level of behavior that's beneath you. And sometimes it necessitates strict changes in your life to show yourself that even if that person has not changed, you are changing. In my early days of co-parenting, engaging with my ex was very unpleasant. However, I didn't want to keep this type of energy in my life, but I had to talk to him. When he would cross my boundaries, being disrespectful or speaking to me in a tone that was not productive, I started to just go gray rock. Gray rock is not engaging, acting like a rock who does not talk, who does not say anything. If there was negativity in text, no answer. Snide comment, no comeback, no words. At times, it's important to understand when it is healthier for you to cut off communication altogether. Some ex-partners in divorce only communicate through a family court-given app or an attorney. While that's unfortunate, it sure beats prolonging abuse, toxicity, and terror that some people experience when going through breakups. I will say that after a short time, or sometimes a long time, the animosity wanes and co-parenting becomes easier for a lot of people. If you would have told me 10 years ago that my child's father and I would be able to co-parent pretty peacefully now, I would not have believed it could happen. But here we are. By giving yourself time and space to heal your feelings, think, and react differently, no matter who you're dealing with, you'll be closer to being the future you that you want to be. Many of us were drawn to marriage, believing it would start us on an epic journey towards achieving something great in partnership. We thought it was going to be a safe path to a lifetime of wonderful. Divorce can seem like a sad ending, but it's really an opportunity to become an improved version of you. The possibilities for your life now endless. But who is future you? As you begin your new journey on your own terms, you aren't necessarily starting over. You're actually taking all of the learnings and growth that you developed through this time, through this experience with you. You get to live better, smarter, more intentionally. So what do you want to carry forward, not just leave behind? What is it that you want for your future you and a life on your own terms? Divorce often nudges women to evaluate their finances, careers, personal goals. And guess what? You can too. If you want to reinvent your career, start a passion project or chase that degree or promotion. Want a confidence boost? You'll find that accomplishing big tasks on your own or making big decisions alone can be wildly empowering. Need more clarity? Well, discover what genuinely brings you joy without having to compromise with someone else or negotiate. Want a different lifestyle? Maybe you want to travel to all of those places that your partner didn't seem to be interested in. If you think that your story will end with divorce, think again. Turns out your story is just beginning. If you would like help getting through a difficult divorce, relationship end, or you want to help figure out how to rebuild your life to chase a dream, reassess your priorities, or reclaim your self-confidence, schedule a strategy call with me at theboldlife.coach. I'd love to help. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, give me a follow and a quick review. You can always reach me at theboldlife.coach. See you back here next week at Female and Dangerous.